The human body is capable of amazing things. The way it's built has made possible the execution of fascinating skills that in the past would be inconceivable. The complexity of the levers in the body made actions like this look easy. Our level of evolution and our understanding of principles and laws have made absurd maneuvers to become reachable. Science and technology have made athletes faster, stronger, powerful, and more capable. The best part is that we are all the same species. Yes, some born with certain characteristics that makes us different, but even the most talented people or the most physically equipped will not reach their potential unless they understand and are capable to perform using their body properly. By understanding the human levers, angles, laws, and principles, we could improve or perform certain skills in a more efficient way. Even if you're in a developing stage in your sport, or you just want to jump higher, run faster, endure more, making the right impulse, properly directing the force, and using the right joints can make anyone get to the highest possible level. In this video, I will explain some principles of biomechanics. Although it sounds complex, you will see that you already apply principles that you don't even notice. We will start with the most basic one. The principle of force. Force causes movement. That is the fundamental principle of biomechanics. All error detection should be based on this principle. The movement you see occurs because the forces that were applied. Bad movement reflects bad force. It is a mistake to say things like, why don't you jump higher, throw the ball farther, run faster? The correct question is, where am I applying force? Am I bending my legs? Should I lean more? In any movement, if you want to make it better, kick harder, strike farther, we have to identify and correct the problem with the force production. Another really important principle is the principle of impulse causing momentum. An object will travel faster or farther depending on the momentum. The more the impulse, the more the momentum. You can see this in many sports. In tennis, when the racket moves back, you're generating impulse to create a larger momentum. However, many people could say that if I'm stronger, then my impulse would be higher, and then I could generate a larger momentum. But this is not necessarily true. Yes, momentum depends on the mass, but it also depends on the velocity. The higher the velocity, the higher the force as well. That is why you see a cricket player move back and javelin thrower move back to run and increase the velocity. In tennis, you could see a short swing in a volley. It does not generate impulse, thus it does not generate force nor distance. The larger the swing, the more impulse and the more momentum you will generate in the object. But do not forget the velocity, because it is also important. In many skills, see how fast different parts of the body moves. This could connect with the principle of impulse direction. Remember that we talked about momentum in the previous principle. The change in momentum, which means speeding up or slowing down, occurs in the direction of the applied impulse. If the body moves in the wrong direction, the problem comes from the direction of the applied force. In activities like walking, running, and jumping, the push on the ground must create an impulse in the opposite direction to the intended direction of travel, which means to go forward, push backwards, to go upwards, push downwards. The principle of stretch-shorten cycle is used to optimize the force produced by the muscles. The key to producing optimal muscle force is the stretch-shorten cycle. More muscle force is produced when a muscle is stretched before it's shortened. The muscle is stretched when a segment goes backward before it goes forward. The quickness of the muscle stretching is more important than how much the muscle stretches. It is also important to mention the principle of summing joint forces. Because the body consists of linked segments, the amount of force in the impulse applied by the part of your body that moves last in an execution is essentially the sum of the force from all the joints used. More joints contributing and more force from each joint increase the applied impulse. All joints that can contribute should contribute, and the force from each should be as much as is needed. If a joint is not used or contributes less than its potential, the applied impulse is less. Now let's look at the principle of continuity of joint forces. When a movement is performed, look for a smooth continuity of segment motions, starting from the larger, more proximal segments and flowing outward towards the smaller, more distal segments. The smooth, sequential timing of the motions from proximal to distal increases the applied impulse by the distal end of the segment. Any pause, hesitation in the motion disrupts the smooth proximal to distal flow and causes a reduced impulse. In other words, just go for it. It has to look smooth. If it's more paused, it has less power. These are just some of the principles of biomechanics. Understanding these principles will help you understand how the segments of your body work. For a long time, humans have studied concepts like mass, momentum, force, and velocity to understand movement and how to make it more efficient. In one single movement, you can see all of the principles applied, and this is one of the reasons athletes are more spectacular nowadays.